All right, next up, we've got Nashville, Florida, 59-60 on the rotation here. Nashville in this game, minus 135 to minus 140, road favorite here. The total six, a little bit shaded to the under minus 115 in most spots, with that total sitting at six. For Nashville, they're off that big win that I just talked about, 4-1 against Tampa Bay. They had a yeah, definitely a look ahead spot. You could tell the way Nashville played against Buffalo on Saturday. They were looking ahead to that Tampa Bay game. I mean, that was an ugly game. What did they give up? 7 goals to the Buffalo Sabres. That's just a team that wasn't mentally locked into that game. Nashville has already clinched first in the Central. They had the big game on deck with Tampa. You can kind of excuse them for kind of mailing it in. The way they did against Buffalo. Didn't mail it in against Tampa. That game got their attention, and they played a good, solid road game in a 4-1 victory against the Tampa Bay Lightning. Here's the thing with Florida tonight. They obviously have to, they pretty much have to win out at this point, the Florida Panthers, to have any shot to track down New Jersey. You can't put yourself in a position where you can afford to lose one more game. I think you've got to sweep your remaining games if you're the Florida Panthers to have any chance at this. But as we saw last night with the St. Louis Blues, must win doesn't equal will win. It just doesn't. It really does not. You cannot be betting games that way at this stage of the season. That we got to bet the team that needs the 2 points against the team that maybe doesn't need it, because pressure is a bitch. It really, really is. Pressure to win these games to get in the postseason. It's not an easy thing to deal with, because you try so hard that sometimes it ends up biting you in the end. You grip your stick a little too tight. Yeah, you fan on a shot that usually, when you're in a one-time spot, usually you're, ripping it into the top of the net. Instead, you're fanning on it because you're just clutching the stick too tightly. Think just little things like that. When you need 2 points, it just affects your game a little bit more. You're just a little bit off in your execution because you're just trying a bit too hard and you're overthinking it a little bit. That's sometimes what these teams can get into in terms of these must-win games to try to get into the playoffs. So Florida got the job done last night. This is a weird scheduling spot because Florida, they played at home last night against Carolina, got the job done with a 3-2 win. Now they're playing a second straight game, but at home, no travel. So in terms of a second night of back-to-backs, this is not that big of a deal to me. I don't think you can handicap this as a fatigue spot, a tired spot for Florida. This is the second game straight at home. Sleeping in your own beds last night, you're comfortable in your surroundings. So I don't think it's a brutal spot for Florida by any stretch of the imagination. But you can't bet Florida tonight as a home dog simply because they need to win the game. That doesn't work that way. And I will not be on Florida because Nashville is still the better of these two teams as far as I'm concerned. They had a stinker. It's all about mentality of Nashville. Do you want to come in here and have that focus? There's not a whole lot really left for Nashville to shoot for here in these remaining regular season games. Do you bring that pride element to just, hey, let's fine tune our game, let's get revved up for the playoffs, and let's try to be playing our best going into the playoffs? If that matters to Pete Laviolette and this Nashville team, you should expect a pretty good effort from them tonight. So again, be careful. I know Florida must win. They've got to win every game remaining, but Nashville, Washington was a good team. They went into St. Louis and won last night. Nashville's a good team. They can go into Florida and end any chances that Florida has of making the playoffs very easily because they're the better of these two teams. There's a reason Nashville's where they are in the standings, first in the Central, first in the West, defending Western Conference champions. There's a reason why Florida's where they are, battling tooth and nail just to get into the damn postseason because you got a great team and you got a mediocre team. So be careful with just betting Florida on the premise of must win. Dana Lane, Nashville, Florida. What do you got for us? This is one of your games. What do you like here?
Yeah, that's a good point, Ian, because these must-win situations are absolutely ridiculous. I mean, the Buffalo Sabres were in a must-win situation since November, and that hasn't helped them in any way. The fact of the matter is, the Florida Panthers are not going to make the postseason, and they're not going to win this game. Give them all the credit in the world. I mean, they have the best. They're the only Nashville and Boston have better records after the All Star break. They did a fantastic job of just getting back into the discussion because a month and a half ago it was kind of snickered when you would talk about the Florida Panthers. I don't know in the offseason if they're going to sit down with Bob Bugner and Dale Talon and company, and maybe get away from the analytics more. I don't know. I mean, I didn't see a lot of these teams that jump on analytics as their main reason for or their main source of scouting that have really had any amount of success. And of course, analytics was the reason why the Florida Panthers basically got rid of Gerard Gallant, and I think that's worked out pretty well for the Vegas Golden Knights. But I do, from a Nashville standpoint, I do get the feeling that they really want this President's Cup trophy. I have no idea why, because we haven't had a Stanley Cup winner from a President's Cup trophy since the Chicago Blackhawks did it in the 2012-2013 season. And in fact, only 8 times since they've been given this trophy out has the President's Cup winner actually went on to win the Stanley Cup. So 75% of the time, you win the President's Cup, you're not going to, or you win the President's Trophy, you're not going to go and win the Stanley Cup anyway. But I think it means something to them, and it means something to the fans. So they, there's not going to be a lack of effort for sure tonight. And I still think, if I'm the Nashville Predators, man, I still look back at that Buffalo Sabre game, and I know they've gotten a victory since then, but I still look back at that and just want to wipe that right out of my mouth. And the best way to do that is to knock a team out that really needs to win. Nashville is 20-7. When coming off of a victory, and the Panthers are just 5-14 in the fourth game in 6 days, in a four game in 6 days situation. So that doesn't bode well for them. And honestly, Ian, like you said, they're in this situation because they're not very good. They're not very consistent. And all of a sudden, because they need to win, do I think that they're better than the Nashville Predators? Absolutely not. And I think Nashville proves that tonight.
All right, Nashville must win be damned, and I agree. Nashville's a better team. I think they're going to win this game as well. Minus 135, which you can actually get minus 130 out there currently at bookmakers/Chris. And again, Florida, nice little surge they've had since the All-Star break to even put them in a position where they're still alive faintly for the playoffs, but it's coming to an end. Just a question probably of when at this point in time.
Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to our channel. Now, we've put a lot of work into producing all these free videos, so please help us out and keep all our content free for you forever by simply liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing. Now, not to mention, a visit to our industry-leading website will warm the hearts of all our SBR employees, especially myself. Now, the links are over there to the left, so do check those out. Thanks for watching.